Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be checking out a very concerning video right now. I just saw it, and the title is "The Great American Tourism Collapse: A Hidden Crisis Unfolding Now." Apologies for that. I had no idea something like this was going on. First of all, a lot of you guys know that I moved to Finland, so though I care a lot about the United States. I'm living in Finland, so my focus is mainly on where I'm living, right? But the United States is very important to me, and what's ironic is that I'm not getting to experience most of the unfortunate things that are going on simply because I'm not there, right? This video is a little bit scary, honestly, but we're gonna just jump right into it because I'm really excited to hear what's going on because I already have a feeling, that it's because of what has been happening with the whole Donald Trump situation. So, quite unfortunate, but without further ado, let's check out this video.
Many businesses are bracing for what could be a sluggish summer. Visitors are even being told by their home countries to take their vacations and money elsewhere.
There's a sharp decline in international visitors to the U.S., down at least 14% from a year ago.
We have tariffs, they've been set, and it's going to make our country very rich.
This year, we're down about 29 to 30%.
And what are they saying when they cancel?
They don't feel safe, they don't feel welcome.
Stunning images of near-empty passenger planes are popping up on social media. These international flights have many tourists flying to the USA practically alone. This flight from Toronto to New York is also practically empty. And a flight from Toronto to Fort Myers.
You're lying. This has to be AI. No, I'm actually so sad right now. I don't like to say like America's world power or whatever, number one country in the world, even though a lot of people, a lot of Americans would say that. But there's no denying that America is seen, the United States is seen, and respected a lot around the world. There's no surprise there. A strong military, lots of money, whatever, right? The country isn't perfect, but however, its power is technically pretty high on a world standard, right? However, I think with how things are going, unfortunately, I think sooner or later, that's not going to be the case. That's not going to be the case anymore. And China is literally right there, man. Like what I'm trying to say is, I think the United States is screwing itself. And let's not say the United States. I think the people who are successful in the United States, who propel the United States, are screwing themselves. For example, Elon Musk, right? I used to love Teslas. He went out there, did the weird hand stuff, and guess what? Tesla is not seen the same way as it was before. He went into politics. He could have stayed out of that. There's a Chinese car known as BYD. That car never used to be in Europe. I've now started to see that car in Finland. Yesterday, I saw that electric car here in Finland. Other electric cars are now competing with Tesla, right? All I'm saying is, I think a lot of people in the United States with power are screwing the United States. And it's very, very, very sad. And it's just allowing people to not have respect for the United States or, the idea that they even want to visit anymore. It's actually sad.
Row after row of empty seats.
America's tourist problem isn't coming, it's here, and the world is responding with its wallets. For decades, United States didn't just attract visitors, it attracted dreams. That magnetic pull, the one that filled planes from Tokyo to London, from Sydney to Sao Paulo, is failing. Not slowly, not quietly, but in real time, with consequences nobody in Washington seems to grasp yet. Here's what makes this crisis unprecedented. The United States is now the only major economy among 184 countries forecast to experience declining international visitor spending in 2025. Let that sink in. Every other major destination is growing. America is shrinking. The numbers paint a catastrophic picture. After recovering to 72.4 million international visitors in 2024, almost back to pre-pandemic levels, everything reversed. March 2025 saw arrivals plummet 14% year over year. Western Europe, our biggest spender market, dropped 17.2%. Germany alone fell 28%. The projection? A $12.5 billion loss in visitor spending this year. That's not a recession, that's a collapse. But it gets worse. For the first time in years, the US is facing a massive $50 billion travel trade deficit. That means not only is the world not coming here, but Americans are taking their money and spending it overseas at a record pace.
But statistics only tell half the story. The human cost reveals the real crisis.
Take Jessica Broscha, a 29-year-old German tattoo artist with valid tourist authorization and a return ticket. Border agents detained her for 45 days. Not hours, not overnight, 45 days. 8 of those in solitary confinement at Otay Mesa Detention Center. Her crime? Traveling to America while having tattoos and an alternative appearance. Lucas Seeloff's story is
Why do they always be trying to pin? That's something that I've noticed about the ICE agents. They keep trying to pin tattoos as if you're a criminal. Like, dude, criminal tattoos, you can easily tell the difference between a criminal tattoo versus somebody who is just a tattoo fanatic. It's like a car guy versus a guy who does illegal things with cars. Like, you can clearly see the difference. So I don't know why they would do that. 45 days? That's just insane, dude.
Equally disturbing. This 25-year-old German tourist was grabbed at the border after visiting Mexico, still 22 days inside his legal 90-day permit. A language barrier led to confusion during questioning. The result? 16 days in detention. His family scrambled to pay $2,744 for his deportation flight. The message to his friends back home? Skip America. Then there's Fabian Schmidt. Here's where it gets truly insane. Schmidt isn't even a tourist. He's a permanent resident with a valid green card, detained at Boston Logan, held at Wyatt Detention Center in Rhode Island. A legal resident, treated like a criminal at the airport he's used for years. The casualties mount daily. Rebecca Burke, a 28-year-old Welsh backpacker, 19 days detained in Washington state. Jasmine Mooney, a Canadian actress renewing her work visa, 12 days locked up. 2 German teenagers landing in Hawaii for vacation, deported immediately because they hadn't booked every single night's accommodation in advance. Immigration attorney Stephen Yale Laird dropped a bombshell that explains everything. CBP has been much more vigilant, reviewing everyone's credentials since Trump took office. Translation, this isn't random, it's systematic. Pedro Rios, who's worked the border for 22 years, told the Associated Press something that should terrify every American business dependent on tourism. I've never seen travelers from Western Europe and Canada, longtime US allies, locked up like this.
The airline industry isn't waiting for diplomatic solutions. They're fleeing. Play Airlines announced the nuclear option, complete US market exit by October 2025. Every route canceled. Stewart, Boston Logan, Baltimore Washington International, all abandoned. Their CEO's explanation was brutally honest. The North American market was less successful. Translation, their customers don't want to risk American detention. Condor Airlines eliminated 6 North American routes overnight. Baltimore, Minneapolis, Phoenix, San Antonio, gone. The German federal court ruling that killed their feeder traffic was just the excuse.
Dude, I'm so shocked about all of this, bro. Like, oh my God, man. This is just like... It's like I'm having a panic attack, you know? It's like, it just doesn't, like... I don't know if you guys know what it feels like. You know, maybe you don't. But it's like looking at something that you love dearly, that you hold so close to your heart, and just watching it fade away. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts to see this. You know, it's like, yeah, man, this is just not cool, dog. Like, I don't like what's happening, bro. And it's not like you can fault the people who are not visiting the United States. You can't fault them. Like, what am I supposed to do, bro? Like, if I don't feel welcome in somewhere, why would I go there?
The real reason? German tourists aren't booking America anymore. WestJet's numbers are apocalyptic. 9 US routes suspended, bookings down 70% through September 2025. Their executives explicitly blamed US President Donald Trump's trade tariffs and the resulting collapse in Canadian travel demand. When airlines start naming presidents in their route cancellation announcements, you know it's personal. Air Canada followed suit. 5 cross-border routes axed for winter 2025-26. Toronto-Detroit, dead. Montreal-Indianapolis, gone. These aren't far-flung destinations. These are neighbor cities, connected for generations, now severed. The European exodus accelerates weekly. KLM cutting routes. British Airways reducing capacity. Air France pulling back. Lufthansa restructuring away from America. Norse Atlantic tells the most damning story. They've eliminated half of the 24 US routes they launched since 2022. 50% failure rate in 3 years. Secondary American cities are becoming aviation ghost towns. Baltimore-Washington International has lost 7 airlines in recent years. Minneapolis-St. Paul watched European carriers vanish one by one. These airports built international terminals for growth that's now reversing at breakneck speed. The economic devastation spreads like cancer through American tourism hubs. International visitors spend 8 times more than domestic travelers, averaging $4,000 per trip. They stay in luxury hotels, eat at expensive restaurants, buy premium experiences. When they vanish, entire economic ecosystems collapse. Hotel profitability has already crashed from 43% to 32% of properties. That's thousands of hotels sliding toward bankruptcy. New York, despite being America's gateway, reports international visitor drops approaching 20%. Los Angeles watches Asian tourism evaporate. Miami's South American connections wither. San Francisco's tech conference circuit shrinks as international attendees choose virtual participation over detention risk. Smaller cities face extinction-level events. Flagstaff, Arizona, once thriving on international tourist dollars, has completely abandoned international marketing. They've accepted their new reality, Americans only. Sedona, Jackson Hole, Aspen, all report similar pivots. The message? International money is gone. Adapt or die. The U.S. Travel Association tries damage control, admitting they're working with Customs and Border Protection on, quote, perception issues about entering the U.S. But this isn't perception, it's reality, documented in government warnings, airline schedules, and detention statistics. This isn't just about perception, it's a measurable collapse in reputation. A 2025 global index measuring national influence delivered a shocking verdict. While the U.S. still ranks high in economic power, for the attribute of being, quote, friendly, it now ranks a dismal 124th in the world. Brand USA, the official tourism marketing organization, scrambles with emergency campaigns. But how do you market a destination when allied governments officially warn against visiting? When viral detention stories appear weekly? When airlines literally flee your airports? The National Travel and Tourism Office lives in fantasyland. They're still projecting 77.1 million visitors for 2025 and 85 million for 2026. Current trends suggest they'll miss by tens of millions. These aren't forecasts anymore. They're delusions. Tourism economics and Oxford Economics, the serious number crunchers, paint the real picture. Overall 8.7% decline in U.S. arrivals for 2025. Canadian visitation dropping 20%. Western European visits falling 6%. These projections assume things don't get worse. But every week brings new detention stories, new warnings, new route cancellations. The timing couldn't be worse. America hosts the World Cup in 2026.
Even this, the amount of people I've heard saying that this thing must be gone. Like, I'm not a soccer guy like that, but you know, it's one of the largest sport in the world. Probably is the largest, to be honest, right? So you got to pay attention a little bit to it. You know what I mean? The older you grow, the more you drop the things that you grew up loving and open the doors for other things. I think, I don't know, but I've heard so many people say this should not be held in the United States. Like, literally. And honestly, if I'm being very honest, I genuinely think that they're actually right, because why would you keep an event in a place where a lot of people feel as if they're not welcomed? Your attendance rating is probably going to plummet, like, severely. I don't know.
The 250th anniversary celebrations throughout 2026. Events requiring millions of international visitors. But infrastructure is collapsing now. Airlines are leaving now. Reputation is dying now. Industry insiders whisper about the Trump effect, but fear speaking publicly. One hotel executive, requesting anonymity, said, "We're watching 40 years of relationship building evaporate in real time. My Japanese partners won't even visit for meetings anymore. They Zoom from Tokyo." A tour operator specializing in European groups shared devastating numbers. 2019, I moved 10,000 Germans through national parks. 2025, maybe 1,000. They're going to Canada instead. Same mountains, no detention centers. The cascading effects hit everywhere. Rental car companies report international reservation collapses. Attraction operators watch foreign language tour groups vanish. Restaurant owners in tourist districts pivot desperately toward domestic diners. The ecosystem built on international dollars crumbles in real time. Convention centers report the stealth crisis. International conference attendance hasn't just dropped, it's reorganizing away from America entirely. Major tech conferences add Toronto satellites. Medical conventions expand European venues. The subtle message? Important international gatherings need non-American options. Universities sound different alarms. International student applications crater as families fear their children being detained at borders. One admissions director confided, "Parents ask if we can guarantee their kids won't be arrested at the airport. What am I supposed to say?" The State Department maintains radio silence. No acknowledgement of the crisis, no policy adjustments, no recognition that America's soft power evaporates with every detention. Their approach? Pretend nothing's happening while the world watches American tourism leadership collapse. Here's what Washington refuses to grasp. Every detained tourist becomes an anti-ambassador. They return home with horror stories. They post on social media. They warn friends, family, colleagues. One detention creates hundreds of canceled trips. The multiplication effect is devastating and accelerating. The solution isn't complex, but it requires something Washington seems incapable of: admitting error. Real reform means retraining 50,000 border agents. And it's desperately needed. A U.S. Government Accountability Office report found that CBP's own records were so unreliable, they couldn't even confirm if their officers had completed the required training. It's not just about bad policy, it's about a documented failure of basic competence. It means creating civilian oversight of customs procedures, establishing accountability when visitors are mistreated. Most critically, recognizing that every airport interaction shapes America's global reputation. The irony strangles. America spends billions promoting tourism, crafting campaigns about diversity and welcome, then undoes everything in arrival halls nationwide. One detention erases 1,000 beautiful advertisements. Some argue this is overblown. Millions still visit annually. True, but direction matters more than volume. When your closest allies actively discourage travel, when your neighbors choose anywhere else, when airlines abandon your airports, that's not a crisis. That's a collapse in motion. The world hasn't given up.
The problem is with that situation that he just mentioned, right? Yes, there are going to be millions who still visit the United States, which, of course, I'm not going to tell you not to visit the United States. If you feel like this won't happen to you, of course, go ahead. However, there's a problem with that. Change won't happen, right? Because if Donald Trump and the Republican team sees that, hey, what we did, what we said, there's not much happening, so we don't got to fix nothing. That's what's going to happen. But if there's a severe issue where they're realizing, okay, our actions are actually affecting us, they're going to make a change. But if they don't see anything that affects them, they ain't going to make no change.
On America, not yet. But patience expires. Trust, once shattered, requires years to rebuild. And every detention, every deportation, every family separated at the border broadcasts the same message globally. America doesn't want you here. The question isn't whether recovery is possible, it's whether America wants to recover. Because fixing this requires acknowledging uncomfortable truths, that current policies destroy tourism, that allied relationships are fracturing, that economic damage compounds daily. Time isn't neutral in this crisis. Every week without reform deepens the hole. Every month of denial makes recovery harder. Every year of collapsed tourism creates permanent economic scars. The world is learning to vacation without America. Once that habit forms, reversing it becomes exponentially harder.
True.
What's your take? Can America reverse this unprecedented decline, or are we witnessing the permanent end of American tourism dominance? Have you experienced or heard about these detention issues? Drop your thoughts below.
I think it could be fixed in the future. Honestly, I really do, because I do believe that a lot of these policies are of Donald Trump, and I do believe that a lot of people, if they actually became a lot of other candidates for presidency in the United States, would actually not do this exact thing that's going on right here. But it's unique. That I will say, it's very unique, but it's also quite unfortunate that this is what's going on, because the truth is, it can, I hope it doesn't, but it can very much lead to a total collapse of tourism in the United States. And if the tourism collapses in the United States, it's only a matter of time before other things starts to collapse. Ugh. Dang, bro. Whew. This video was hard to watch. I can't lie to you. I'm happy to not hear anything else about it. And you know, like being in Finland, I avoid trying to listen to any political thing. I just don't want to hear about the country that I love. Just every day something bad. I don't want to hear about it. If you had a spouse, a child, a mom, a father, whatever, and you just constantly hear some negative things about them in the news, you'd not want to hear anything. You know what I mean? That's what I'm going through right now, and it's tough, bro. But y'all can let me know what y'all think about it in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching as usual, and yeah, I'm out of here. Peace.